Today's topic is gender identity, a disorder in children and adolescents.
And the team members are going to be Sanya Gonzalez and myself, Alexander Lag. The themes discussed in this presentation are going to be five of them. The first one being core gender identity and development, the second one being social and psychological impact, the third one being medical and therapeutic interventions, the fourth one being family and societal dynamics, the fifth being temporal aspects and research.
Before we start talking about the topic, we need to know, what do you think gender identity means? Have you ever heard of GID before? And do you know what a mental disorder is? Some other concepts that we have to know before we begin this topic, it's going to be, what is a mental disorder? So according to the World Health Organization, a mental disorder is characterized by a clinically significant disturbance in an individual's cognition, emotional regulation, and behavior. So in other words, it's something clinically diagnosed that affects your cognition, your emotions, and your behavior. And for another concept is going to be behavior. That means to act in a particular way. So it depends on your actions, that's going to be your behavior.
First clarify what the terms gender, assigned gender, and gender dysphoria are. Gender denotes the public and usually legally recognized lived role. Biological factors combined with social and psychological factors contribute to gender development. Assigned gender refers to a person's initial assignment as male or female at birth. It is based on anatomy and other visible physical sex characteristics. Gender dysphoria is a term which refers to an individual's discontentment with their assigned gender.
So we're going to talk about core gender identity and development. So according to an article that we found, core gender identity describes a young child's developing fundamental sense of belonging to one sex. This means that core gender identity is when a kid develops a feeling of fitting in to one sex, to be comfortable with one sex. Now, gender identity is a state of unease with one's self, body, and gender, also commonly known as transsexualism. In other words, gender identity disorder is not feeling comfortable with yourself regarding the sex you were assigned at birth.
Many people who are exploring or expressing their gender identity, especially those who are transgender, non-binary, or gender non-conforming, face serious challenges that can affect their mental health and well-being. These impacts often include anxiety and depression. People may face rejection from family, bullying at school, or discrimination at work, or even in public. This stress can lead to constant worry, anxiety, or depressed sadness of hopelessness that includes depression. So when it comes to suicidal thoughts, when people or when someone feels alone, misunderstood, or hopeless about being accepted for who they are, they may have thoughts of ending their lives. And this includes some risk factors like lack of support, harassment, or being forced to hide their identity increased risk. With the low or no self-esteem, constantly hearing negative messages about their identity, whether in the media, at school, or at home, can make someone feel like they're less than or even wrong. The result is that they may feel ashamed and hide who they are, or believe they are not worthy of love or success.
Found some medical and therapeutic interventions that people have tried regarding gender identity disorder. We have the True Gender Self Child Therapy, which talks about mainly letting the kid realize and connect with whichever gender they feel comfortable with. True Gender Self Child Therapy means that this procedure or therapeutic intervention lets the child embrace and look and create their own gender. It's called a three-dimensional web. So it doesn't really mean like a medical procedure. It's more like a therapeutic and like development procedure intervention. Then we also have questionnaires. So we saw in our research that there was a lot of authors were using the Youth Self-Report, the Child Behavior Checklist for the parents specifically, and the Beck Depression Inventory, among others. So the Child Behavior Checklist was basically to the parents to see if they could identify certain behaviors on their kids. And lastly, we have the most common which is intervention, which is hormonal treatments and surgery. So in this case, for gender identity disorder, and with the hormonal treatment and surgery, we know that people get a better chance to feel comfortable with themselves because they include cross-sex hormones. So the cross-sex hormones modify the hormones in your body to start feeling or modifying your body to the opposite sex. So if you're a woman that wants to be or identifies as a man, you'll probably have to get the hormonal treatment for testosterone. And vice versa. You will have to, if you're a man trying to identifying as a girl, you'll have to take more estrogen. And most of the time, this cross-sex hormone therapy does not work at 100%. So after the cross-sex hormone treatment, it is mostly necessary to have a sex change surgery, which is more risky and more dangerous for the body because it's not used to all the hormones that you've already given to it, and you add a surgery, which a surgery itself, it's a lot of risk. But that plus the hormonal treatment, it's just a bigger picture and it's a bigger risk.
Gender identity is a feeling or a choice, not a mental disorder. People may argue that gender identity is a feeling or a choice, not a mental disorder. That is true until a certain point. The feeling and the choices of the kids matter, but there's an age for everything. That's why there is age limit. So if you want to drink alcohol, you need to be at least 21. That should be the same for when it comes to like choosing these important choices that you have in life, since of the articles that we research from, kids don't have that mental growth to make important choices in their lives. So we shouldn't take so easily those choices, and instead of that, guide them through the right path.